The first day of teaching in the countryside. He made a grand entrance by walking into the classroom with a kitchen knife. The students thought he was going to slaughter everyone. But he just raised the knife and brought it down, slicing an apple and sharing it with everyone. Then he asked them what they got. Someone said in confusion, an apple. Others had already eaten it all up. Only a little girl wearing glasses said a mathematical term. It's missing 25%. This surprised the teacher. He didn't expect that among this group of idiots there was actually someone who understood percentages. So after class, he immediately shared this surprising discovery with the counselor. But the counselor told him not to have any illusions about this group of underachievers, because this is the most notorious Garfield High School in all of Los Angeles. Most students come from poor immigrant families. Due to a lack of discipline, at a young age, they either fight and brawl, or are obsessed with romance, or are seeking a sense of belonging while skipping school. In short, they do everything bad except studying. Even the entire school will have its teaching accreditation revoked because of their terrible grades. The principal is helpless about this and chooses to just give up. But the new teacher, Escalante, believes this group of students is not beyond saving. He, who came with great ambitions, will surely be their savior. However, he still underestimated the bad behavior of these underachievers. When he walked into the classroom again the next day, the students all showed their true colors. Not only were they noisy, but they were also rude to him. After finally getting everyone to quiet down and returning to his seat, the bell rang at an inappropriate time. Checking the time, he found that only 9 minutes had passed since class started. Feeling a bit strange, teacher Escalante intended to go out and investigate, but saw the principal driving everyone back to the classroom. After asking, he learned it turned out someone had tampered with the bell. The principal said nonchalantly this was just an appetizer to welcome him. According to tradition, there would be bigger surprises after this. At first, Escalante didn't take it to heart until he went home after work. He suddenly discovered his car windows were gone. The car center console had also been ripped to shreds. It seems this group of students is truly beyond saving, as the outside world says. But even so, teacher Escalante still did not give up his original intention to give the children a bright future. Because as an immigrant himself, he knew the difficulties of being an outsider. As a veteran computer teacher from Bolivia, Escalante, like those Mexican immigrants, harbored beautiful fantasies, leaving his hometown to come to the United States to seek a better life. But he didn't expect that his Bolivian teaching credentials would not be recognized in the United States. He was rejected by major schools again and again because of this. With no other choice, he came to this Garfield High School, which was short on staff, to apply for a computer teacher position. However, the math department head who received him told him, due to a lack of funding at the school this year, he had to be content with working as a math teacher for a while. Lant did not refuse this, because the salary for this job was quite decent, and it did not go against his original intention of teaching and educating people. But to teach with peace of mind in this mixed-bag high school is by no means easy. One day, 2 gang members not only arrived late for class, but also insultingly threw the attendance sheet on the ground. Lant did not dwell on this too much. He just calmly arranged for the 2 to take their seats. But just as he was about to continue teaching, he discovered that one of them did not bring a textbook. Facing the teacher's questioning, the thug replied confidently, "I have a brain, that's enough." Oh. Then do you know the multiplication table? I know one. Seeing this blatant provocation, the teacher did not retaliate. Instead, he earnestly advised this finger-waving guy, "Your fingers are not just for insulting people, but can also be used to create a better life by learning math. 6 by 9. 123,456. What do you get? 54. Just then, the bell rang on time. Thinking the finger-waving guy stayed behind to turn over a new leaf and learn humbly, he didn't expect that he wanted a passing grade. To get it over once and for all, facing Lant's stern refusal, he even called his Mexican brothers and gave Lant a slap in the face, along with some threatening words to make him bow his head. Clearly, these thugs did not understand the principle of respecting teachers, and Lant knew very well, to educate him well, taking a high and mighty stance would inevitably be counterproductive. Only by trying to integrate into the environment could he bridge the gap between teacher and student. So he started to imitate them, wandering around campus with his hands in his pockets. When he saw a boy in the class, surrounded by 3 girls, he would go up and humbly ask for flirting tips. When he saw gang members sparring with outsiders, he would step in, stopping Angel who wanted to join the fight. While asserting his authority, he also prevented the situation from escalating further. Unexpectedly, this caused the finger-waving guy to be short-handed, and he lost face while being beaten up. Therefore, feeling unconvinced, the next day he brought people directly into the classroom to demonstrate. Seeing this, Lant used street slang to intimidate them. "I am the Black Tornado from Bolivia." A one-man gang. "This is my turf." Don't think you'll get out without bleeding. I'm going to jump on your face and tattoo your chromosomes. Seeing that the student's attention was captured by his words, he struck while the iron was hot and gave a basic math problem, -2 + 2. He even called on Angel to answer. But Angel disdainfully crossed his arms, choosing to respond with silence. You can do it. Do you want your buddies to laugh at you? -2 + 2 equals. Be careful, or I'll snap your neck like a toothpick. Mental math. 0. After getting the answer 0, Lant then took the opportunity to introduce the history of the number 0. He said the concept of the number 0 was first used by your ancestors, the Mayans, 800 years ahead of the Europeans. So you have mathematics in your blood. This allowed the immigrant students, who had long endured poverty and discrimination, to instantly feel the power of self-confidence. A passion for learning mathematics also emerged spontaneously, with the catchy multiplication tables repeated over and over again. The knowledge points were unconsciously imprinted into their blank minds. But just as his teaching began to show progress, the principal brought bad news from the city. The school's math scores had hit a new low. Other teachers found this reasonable, because most of the math teachers were not specialized in the subject. Some studied computer science, some studied physics, and there was even one with a physical education background. The head of the math department, however, blamed this on the students, because most of the children who came here to study did not like to learn, even if one tried their best. It was like casting pearls before swine. Just then, Mr. Escalante stated that he was willing to take on more teaching tasks to bring the students' grades up to expectations. The principal asked him what he needed. What do you need, Mr. Escalante? Progress. All I need is progress. To let the students deeply feel that they were constantly making progress, and to help their self-confidence grow. Mr. Escalante would take 10 minutes each class to conduct a quiz. The difficulty of the questions was extremely low, and anyone who paid a little attention in class could easily solve them. But at this time, the slacker tried to persuade Angel to skip the test and go have fun. He was unaware that the teacher's teaching method had already planted the seeds of knowledge in Angel's heart. But between knowledge and his friends, he ultimately chose the latter. Escalante didn't let it slide when he saw this. Everything is fine, goodbye. He thought Angel was as hopeless as the slacker. But after class, Angel went to apologize to Escalante, hoping he would let bygones be bygones, and let him return to class, because the story of the Mayans made him feel proud of his identity for the first time, and it made him genuinely fall in love with math. But he was involved in street life, and carrying a book around his friends would make him look weak. So he asked Escalante to help him borrow 2 books, one to keep at home, and one to keep in his locker. Faced with such a request to learn, Escalante naturally had no reason to refuse, and even gave him an extra one just in case. From then on, Angel would often hang out during the day, and study late into the night when he got home. He maintained his friendships, without neglecting his studies. It was truly a perfect plan. But just as Angel was secretly working hard, a trio in the class was plotting how to slack off. Because according to past practice, they could get grades without taking exams. So, during the next day's quiz, they refused to take the test in public. Escalante didn't fly into a rage, but simply brought a chair from under the desk, and asked the girl leading them to sit on it. At first, the girl didn't move, but with Angel egging her on, the urging from the class grew louder and louder. Finally, with no other choice, the girl sat down, accepting the ridicule and scrutiny of classmates. The 2 accomplices immediately realized their mistake and turned back, lowering their heads to answer. And the girl soon could not endure this torture, returning honestly to the seat to take the exam as usual. In this game between teacher and student, Escalante won a complete victory. However, after the exam, Anna, the only top student in the class, announced today would be her last day at school, because her father demanded she drop out to work as a waitress. After understanding the situation, Escalante immediately took his wife to visit and persuade them. He said Anna was the most promising student in the school, a top student capable of getting into college. She should be allowed to go to higher education, to pursue a bachelor's degree and a doctorate, instead of staying in this so-called family business, wasting her life as a waitress. But the father's view was the exact opposite. He believed that nothing useful could be learned in college. It would be better to follow him step by step, learning the restaurant business. Moreover, he also started from scratch as a waiter. Until now, he owns the entire restaurant. Does being a waiter necessarily mean wasting one's life? In the end, the 2 with conflicting opinions parted on bad terms. Time passed in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, the end of the semester arrived. With his unique teaching method, Escalante had completely ignited the students' passion for learning math. He compared the relationship between x and y in equations to the romantic relationships of ancient mathematicians, leaving these teenagers hooked. The lively classroom atmosphere even led the principal and the math department head to come and learn from him. And when the students were stumped by the difficult problem on the blackboard, A familiar voice carrying the answer came from the doorway, and the owner of the voice was Anna, who had previously been forced to drop out. Perhaps it was Escalante's words that touched her father. Or perhaps it was her persistence, striving with all her might to fight for herself. In the end, she returned to the classroom she longed for as she wished. As the bell rang at the end of the semester, the former class of underachievers transformed into the top class with the best grades. Although it was easy in this school full of slackers, it was still worth encouraging. Therefore, the principal rewarded everyone with a field trip. And it was this opportunity that allowed Escalante to notice a calculus course on an external computer. You know, this is a required course for science and engineering majors in American universities. If they could pass the AP calculus exam in high school, there would be a great possibility of receiving admission invitations from Ivy League schools. So he immediately proposed to the principal, "I want to teach calculus next semester." My God. This is skipping grades. This is ridiculous. They haven't even studied trigonometry and mathematical analysis yet. They will study it this summer. Escalante suggested that the children could come for summer school. He had the ability and the confidence to help them make up for the missed knowledge. But his enthusiasm only met with strong opposition from the math department head, because the pass rate for the AP exam is less than 1%. Even the math teachers here might not be able to pass, let alone a group of students without textbooks or any foundation. And once they fail the exam, their remaining self-confidence will be completely shattered. How will they be able to enter society with composure then? The director's words make sense, but Escalante's attitude remained firm. Either let me teach calculus, or I will say goodbye to everyone. Unable to resist Escalante's threat of resignation, the principal finally agreed to hold summer school. In the July heat, temperature soared to 40 degrees. The students were all crammed into a stuffy warehouse without air conditioning. Relying on their thirst for knowledge and the mantra that a calm heart brings coolness, they fought against the summer heat and exhaustion. In this vast world, there are always forgotten corners, where lonely pines grow, yearning for the clouds, unnoticed by anyone. They will eventually, through day after day of silent rooting, bloom with a refreshing fragrance. After 3 months of hard work, the students finally caught up on trigonometry and other necessary foundations like mathematical analysis. And in the new semester, Escalante officially launched his calculus course. But before teaching began, he required every student to sign a contract, demanding they arrive an hour early for class, and stay an hour late after school, and also come to school for extra classes on Saturdays. Almost all the students were willing to do this, because they all saw the direction of their future in Mr. Escalante. But some parents, after hearing their daughter's description of the calculus course, expressed opposition, because in her memory, her daughter had never loved studying so much. Now she wanted to reach for the stars and challenge high-level math. So she suspected it was an excuse to avoid chores. But when she saw her daughter's determined eyes and sincere promise, the mother chose to trust her unconditionally. The next day, all the students submitted the contract signed by their parents on time, except for one boy named Johnny who refused to attend Saturday classes because his uncle offered him a part-time job driving a forklift on weekends, with an hourly wage even higher than a teacher's. Escalante didn't say much about this, but took Johnny for a drive at night, and at an intersection asked him which way to go. Left or right? Where are we going? Left or right? Turn right, turn right. Eventually, the car drove into a long abandoned dead end, and Escalante then said meaningfully, "You only saw the turn, but didn't see the road ahead. Do not let a leaf block your view of the mountain. Do not let a moment's breeze obscure the vastness of eternity." Perhaps at the crossroads of life, what matters more is seeing the long-term future, rather than immediate petty gains. After that night, Johnny had a sudden realization, resolutely declined his uncle's offer, and turned to embark on a brighter path. Just like that, Escalante's calculus class was fully attended, and the teaching progress moved forward steadily. Although there was the pain of being tortured by difficult problems, and the frustration of collective drops in student grades, the teacher and students worked together toward the same goal. Until this day, when the happy figures of others leaving school early outside a window clashed once again with the gloom of sitting in the classroom, the high wall built inside the girl's heart completely collapsed. Unable to enjoy this high-pressure environment any longer, she chose to pack her bags and leave. However, Escalante made an ill-timed joke. "Are you going to be late for another date? She has more boyfriends than Elizabeth Taylor. I don't like you using my private life for entertainment in this class." Realizing he had offended her, Escalante chased after her out of the classroom to apologize immediately, and carefully asked if she had been encountering any troubles lately. The girl then poured out all her grievances. She said the intense study schedule not only caused her to lose her boyfriend, but also brought a tidal wave of misunderstanding from her family. Escalante did not give a long-winded explanation for this, but instead offered the girl a shoulder to lean on. However, the girl was not the only one whose family did not understand them. As a teacher, Escalante also did not receive recognition from his family. His wife complained that he was too busy with work, ignoring their youngest son's last-place grades in math, and not caring about his own health. She also complained that he didn't take care of his own body, working overtime during the day, and teaching illiterate people at night school in the community, even using a large portion of his vacation time to visit middle schools. Compared to the previous two, Angel was quite lucky. At least his grandmother, whom he lived with, was very supportive of him. It's just that his grandmother was old and in poor health, frequently needing Angel to take her to the hospital for medical care, which resulted in Angel often being unable to arrive at class on time. Until one day, Escalante, unaware of the truth, had enough of this tardiness and mercilessly kicked him out of the calculus class. Without giving him any room for explanation, Angel completely exploded at this moment, angrily calling Escalante an unreasonable jerk. But fortunately, his reason eventually overcame his anger. In order to continue his studies, he brought his grandmother to explain the reason for his tardiness in person, which finally cleared up the misunderstanding between them, because he never wanted to return to that life of self-abandonment again. Sleepless nights filled with worry. As the exam date drew closer, Escalante's physical condition deteriorated due to overwork. Until Christmas Day, unable to bear the burden, he collapsed on his way home from work. When he woke up again, he was already lying in a hospital bed. Examinations showed it was a heart problem caused by overwork, requiring at least a month of quiet rest before being discharged. But the calculus exam was only 2 weeks away. On the other side, the leaderless students had no heart for studying. Without Mr. Escalante's guidance, they were like ants on a hot pan. And the absurd principal actually brought in a music teacher to substitute. I'll be honest with you. I have never taught calculus before. I am actually a music teacher. After this, the students fell into collective silence. Now, the already slim path ahead became even more worrying. Fortunately, the dedicated Escalante did not stop teaching. From his hospital bed, he worked day and night to organize the key points for the students, and then had the nurse deliver them to the school, for them to pass around, copy, and review. When his condition improved slightly, he rushed back to school without delay. Hi. When the students saw him return, they all applauded and cheered, as if their extinguished dreams. Redemption has arrived once again. Now that the knowledge has been mastered thoroughly, facing the exam, all they lacked was a stable and positive mindset. So Escalante called them over to the window, lined them up, and with inspiring words, gave them the necessary encouragement and support. When the pencil on the answer sheet is filled with confidence, when the accumulation of hard work turns into effortless composure, when light paper carries heavy dreams, ready for the exam, that once hopeless destiny finally has a chance to be rewritten. A sudden rise to success begins from this moment. After the exam, they met up at the beach. The dappled sunlight washed away their weariness. The gentle sea breeze blew toward their innocent smiles. The shallow waves washed away the fatigue of long hours of sitting. Countless restless nights were healed in this moment. And those unnoticed efforts will unexpectedly bring good luck. That day, John, who was fixing a car, saw the mailman put a letter in the mailbox. He took it out and saw it was his passing grade for the calculus exam. At that moment, quiet joy surged in his heart, reaching the end of countless years. Afterward, according to the statistics, the principal announced, all 18 students in the class passed the calculus exam. The excellent results surpassed all high schools in Southern California. The principal proudly took all the credit for himself, without mentioning the greatest contributor, Mr. Escalante. At this point, a student couldn't take it anymore, interrupted the principal's speech, and announced, our AP calculus class would like to show this plaque to our teacher, Jaime Escalante. Come on up. Only then did the humble Escalante shyly walk up and take a photo with the students. Although he appeared calm on the surface, his heart was likely overflowing with emotion. After passing the exam, they were all overjoyed, naturally enjoying their last vacation of high school. But that day, a phone call completely shattered this unprecedented peace. Because the students had identical wrong answers on their tests, the Board of Education suspected the 18 students of cheating. Their scores were also suspended. This sudden bad news was like a bolt from the blue, making the usually optimistic Anna dejected, making John lose the mood to fix cars, and making Angel fall back into his old confusion. Afterward, the agency sent 2 investigators to collect evidence. While the suspicion of cheating had not been proven, the principal had already distanced himself from the responsibility, because from the beginning, he never believed this group of underachievers could create a miracle. Therefore, not only did he not defend the students, but he also advised them to confess to cheating early. But no one would admit to a groundless accusation. Facing the baseless accusations, The students all remained silent, unable to get useful information. The investigators, who were previously polite, immediately turned hostile and started threatening the girls in the class. This made Angel, who was standing by, unable to bear it any longer. He decided to play a trick on them. "We got caught. Why don't we just admit it?" "How did you do it?" "I got the test in advance and passed it to everyone." "How did you get it?" "The mailman. I choked him to death. His body is decomposing in my locker." As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room burst into laughter. Angel even struck a pose, as if asking to be arrested. This provocation made the two investigators feel humiliated and caused them to completely lose patience with this group of students. Using the excuse of refusing to cooperate with the investigation, they easily canceled their hard-won grades. Upon learning of this, Escalante immediately found the math department head, hoping she could represent the school in an appeal and clear the students' names. But just like the principal, she was convinced that this unprecedented miracle was just a collective cheating trick. Faced with the department head's guilty until proven innocent attitude, Escalante was curious. Since no one was willing to defend the children, he would fight for their innocence himself. To this end, Escalante specifically sought out the two investigators, demanding to see the students' exams. But they flatly refused, citing that it was against regulations, and said to Escalante, "If you have confidence in the students' abilities, why not encourage them to retest?" "Why should I do that? If they don't, everyone will think they cheated. If they do, people will think they cheated. These scores are being questioned. Just because my kids have Spanish surnames and come from a Spanish-speaking school, you know that. There is discrimination against immigrants here, but no one wants to bring it to the table. I'm calling security. If you can't control your emotions, go ahead." In the end, after the debate yielded no results, Escalante left, slamming the door in a fit of rage. However, when he walked out of the building, he discovered that his old car had been stolen. In broad daylight, helpless, he had no choice but to walk home. Traffic flowed endlessly around him. The students' futures, which should have been soaring, were about to hit rock bottom due to baseless suspicions. As their teacher, he felt powerless. The hopes and persistence of the past were all separating in the fragmented twilight, leaving only dejection upon returning home. Faced with his wife's comfort, he still blamed himself, because this failure could very likely cause the students to lose heart, and even lose trust in society as a whole. They were already qualified to enter this social system, but now they will no longer trust it. However, he still underestimated the resilience of these children. At this moment, Angel and his group arrived with his car. They appeared at the window. It turned out that they were the ones who had broken the car's console last time. Now that they had turned over a new leaf, their conscience got the better of them, and they took the car for repairs. They optimistically stated that they were willing to retest to prove their innocence. It wasn't just Angel. The other 17 students in the class were also willing to do it again to prove themselves. However, the time left for them to review was a meager 3 days. The day before the exam, Escalante specifically instructed, besides pencils and erasers, don't bring anything else, and don't wear clothes with pockets. Remember to be fully focused during the exam. Don't look around. In short, stay alert and be impeccable. That night, he also invited several students to his home as guests, while letting them review with peace of mind. They could also enjoy their own cooking, calling it a perfect score meal. "The food is ready. Who wants to eat?" "Let's just order takeout, buddy." The next day, the scheduled exam arrived as planned. This time, the distance between seats was increased. 2 investigators personally came down to proctor the exam, and the difficulty of the test questions was also increased. But for these students with real substance, it was no big deal. With calm strokes of the pen, they drew the standard answers on the test papers. As one difficult problem after another was solved with ease, their expressions became increasingly relaxed. This was not only the best proof of their own abilities, but also the most beautiful expectation for the future. While everyone else was still writing furiously, the top student, Anna, had already stood up to hand in her paper early, because she had a scholarship interview at the University of Southern California in the afternoon, waiting for her. 1 hour later, the exam time was up. Everyone handed in their papers on time. This time, regardless of whether the final results were satisfactory, the 2 investigators would no longer have any excuse for suspicion. 2 days later, the phone from the grading agency rang in the principal's office. After their multi-person grading and repeated audits, everyone's scores were finalized. 3 points is a passing grade. 5 points is a perfect score. Diaz Maribel, 4 points. Fuentes Mark, 5 points. Escobar Guadalupe, 5 points. Camacho Claudia, 4 points. Ana Delgado, 4 points. John Francisco, 3 points. Fern Rafaela, 4 points. Gitaro Armando, 4 points. Angel Guzman, 5 points. After the principal confirmed it repeatedly, all 18 students in the class, without exception, passed the calculus exam. Mr. Escalante also walked out of the principal's office with a sense of relief. This is a true story. The AP Calculus exam. Mr. Escalante only needed 2 short semesters. The AP Calculus exam. To send all 18 students in the class to top-tier universities. Since then, he began to focus on teaching calculus. The number of students passing the calculus exam each year also increased year by year. And these excellent results also won funding for Garfield High School to purchase computers. But Mr. Escalante did not choose to enter the computer lab to return to his old profession. Instead, he continued to shine in the field of mathematics. The AP Calculus exam. As of 1987, the AP Calculus exam, the number of students who entered university through the calculus exam, the AP Calculus exam, had reached a cumulative total of 400, creating a great miracle in local educational history. Before Mr. Escalante entered the campus, the students were addicted to games, busy with romance, searching for their own coordinates in the darkness. After Mr. Escalante took over the class, the students loved learning and worked diligently, imagining their bright future in the light. Everything seemed to confirm the saying, there are no students who cannot be taught, only teachers who cannot teach. If it weren't for Mr. Escalante, they might have followed the predetermined fate of most immigrants, suffering from discrimination and limitations everywhere in life, living on the margins of society, until growing old unnoticed. The appearance of Mr. Escalante was not like the sun shining on the earth, but more like a high-hanging and quiet blue moon in the long, dark night, guiding the path forward for confused students. Algebra 2, and for their dim youth, painting it with brilliant and vivid colors. But the occurrence of miracles is by no means something that can be achieved by one person's sole effort alone. While praising the teacher, we also cannot ignore that at the important crossroads of life, it was the students themselves who made the right choices. And it was the students themselves who, through every day and night, put in willing effort. All these seemingly insignificant things are also essential foreshadowing. Youth is but a dream. How many times does time let me look back? Perhaps you in front of the screen might sigh, if only I had met such a respectable teacher in the past. My life wouldn't be such a mess now. After all, who doesn't have an original intention to be positive and good? And a determination to put in effort? To this, I would like to use my favorite ancient saying to answer. The past cannot be corrected, but the future can still be pursued. Regarding the past, everyone has more or less irreparable regrets. But time cannot flow backward. The past cannot be changed. Rather than tossing and turning in memories of the past, it is better to pursue the future in the days you can grasp. Even if you miss the sunshine of your student days, please do not worry, because in the next stage, there are still stars in the sky waiting for you. The paths of life are vastly different. Some set off early, but will wander in the fog. Some set off late, but can gallop like a steed. As long as you recognize your own growth trajectory and life rhythm, you will eventually welcome the spring of your life. Like meeting a mentor is like a spring breeze and rain.